a greater danger than Iraq. Iraq cannot be seen in a vacuum, and we have to be willing to use a military option to stop Iran from becoming nuclear. If we're willing to do it, we have a much better chance of having sanctions.
Thank you, Mayor.
Let me zero in on oil. Mayor Giuliani, under your leadership, how will this country become energy, oil independent and strike the right balance between environmental conservation and oil exploration?
You know, the question that Chris asked before about whether or not we would have had to have gone to war in Iraq if we were energy independent or we didn't have to depend on Middle Eastern oil. I mean, I think the answer is we probably should have and would have gone to war against Saddam Hussein anyway, but maybe not. And certainly they'd have less leverage. And I think Iran would be a lot more of a paper tiger if we were more energy independent. So this is, and you can go on, and there are a lot of examples like that. This is a matter of national security. You've got to support all the alternatives. There's no magic bullet here. Biofuels, nuclear power. We haven't licensed a nuclear power plant in 30 years. We haven't had a new refinery in 30 years. We're on hold. Hydroelectric power, solar power, wind power. Conservation. We have to support all of these things. We've got to support them in a positive way. And this is an area in which the federal government, the president, has to treat this like putting a man on the moon. It is a matter of national security. One of the ways to win the Islamic terrorist war against us is for us to be energy independent.
But where do you draw the line? Do you support drilling off the coast of Florida, California?
Well, you don't draw the line anywhere. What you do is you work with people to try to advance all of these technologies. You can't do everything. You can't do long-term damage to our environment. That would be a mistake. That would be an overreaction. You have to make sound judgments, and you have to advance these new technologies. Why the heck haven't we licensed a nuclear power plant in 30 years? France is 80% nuclear. The United States is 20% nuclear, and we're going down to 15%. It comes because of inaction. It comes because we're not willing to stand up, and we're not willing to stand up sometimes to irrational fears and irrational special interests.
Senator Brownback, same question. Where do you draw the line? Do you support drilling, exploration off the coasts of Florida?
I think you go in every place that you can to find resources. I put forward a proposal for us to be energy secure, not independent, energy secure in 15 years. I don't think it's realistic for us to say we can be independent of every country around the world on oil supplies or on energy supplies in the near future, given our dependence and given the nature of what the global economy is like. But I think one of the key answers is right here in Detroit. We've got to get more electricity involved in our car fleet. There's a Chevy Malibu parked out front here that's a hybrid flex fuel. They've got hybrid cars, they have flex fuel cars. I think that's a big part of the answer. I'd like to see us move forward with getting those first 20 to 30 miles off of electricity that you plug into at night. That's technology. We're putting forward tax credits and incentives to try to move that forward. That's something Detroit here needs to grab on and is, and that can move us forward as an industry and as a country.
But on the issue of exploration, you said yes to the coast of Florida, and do you say yes to ANWR?
I voted yes for ANWR, and I would support those in other places, environmentally sound. We have to do it in an environmentally sound fashion.
Congressman?
You bet I would agree to exploration off the coast. I mean, how fair is it today that Louisiana is producing all the oil that California and other countries are consuming, and they refuse to allow the exploration of oil off the coast? I'd say, if you won't allow it, you can't use it. The stuff that we're getting from Louisiana. Now, the other thing is this: when we talk about deficits, our trade deficits, by the way, it's not importing toys from China that causes it. The biggest chunk of our trade deficit is due to one thing and one thing only. It's oil. That's where all the dollars flow. And where do they flow? To countries that want to kill us. So yeah, you better drill every place you can here, and you better figure out every way to reduce your dependency on foreign oil.
John Harwood.
Senator McCain, ExxonMobil, Chevron, and ConocoPhillips this past year earned a combined $72 billion in profits. Is that too much? Should the oil industry pay higher taxes, or should it be required to use some of those profits to help solve our energy problems?
I would hope that they would use those profits to further the cause of alternate energy, nuclear power, a lot of other ways that we have to employ in order to eliminate our dependence on foreign oil. By the way, I wouldn't drill off the coast of Florida unless the people of Florida wanted to. And I wouldn't drill off the coast of California unless the people of California wanted to. And I wouldn't drill in the Grand Canyon unless the people in Arizona wanted to.
But you wouldn't require the oil industry to do those things.
What's that?
You would not require the oil industry to use its profits to help pursue alternative energy.
I would not require them to, but I think that public pressure and a lot of other things, including a national security requirement that we reduce and eliminate our dependence on foreign oil, and we stop the contamination of our atmosphere, which is in climate change, which is real and it's taken place. And we have now a confluence of two national security requirements. One is to address the issue of climate change, and nuclear power is a very big part of that. And it's also a requirement to not allow Chavez in Venezuela, Putin in Russia, and the president of Iran to dictate world events, bully their neighbors, and use oil as a weapon which would probably further terrorism and endanger this nation's national security.
Governor Huckabee, the federal government has spent years and billions of dollars promoting ethanol, but the result has been a glut of ethanol and gas prices that are still at record levels.